Now, gentlemen, I can tell you that 4 of the suspected terrorists they're looking for in Frome, and 3 of them tonight have been arrested. They found been smuggling, been robbing, and been mugging, but no sign of been working. But we'll have the bastards. But they rung me from home. They said that Tony and George Bush and Tony Blair have been down in the pub. It's just them two. It's Tony Blair and George Bush, and there's a dog in front of the fire. There's nobody else in, just George Bush and Tony Blair and the dog. Well, somebody came in and lifted up the tail of the dog, and the landlord said, "What are you doing?" Well, he said, "I couldn't believe it. Somebody just come out and said there's a dog in there with 2 assholes." But the Denzil rung me last week and he said I should be late for work, Jethro. I hit a pig on the way to work. And he said, the pig is stuck in my radiator. He said, what shall I do? I said, shoot the pig. He said, what shall I do with his motorbike? We should be hearing later on tonight in the show what happened when Denzil was marooned on a desert island and a lifeboat washed ashore, and he was able to smash it up and make it into a raft. We should also be hearing... We should be hearing later on that Denzil have written to the Guinness Book of Records and said, I'd like to be put in your book because I've completed a jigsaw in 12 days and it said on the box 3 to 5 years. It is an educational evening tonight, and we should be asking a lot of very serious questions. We should be asking who said we shall fight on the beaches. Of course, that was Sir Winston Churchill. But who said defeat is bad? That was Nelson Mandela's chiropodist. I could get a job. We've had a bad day in Frome. Think it's Denzil. He's been working now in the Natural History Museum. And I went in to see him, and I said, how is it they got a skeleton of a dinosaur? I said, how old is that, Denzil? He said, it's 50 million years and a fortnight. I said, that's pretty accurate, isn't it? Well, he said, when I come here to work, he said, they said it was 50 million years old, and I've been here a fortnight. We was down St. Just and there was a pig in the field, me and Denzil and Slipalong Trevaskis. So I said to Slipalong, could you shag a pig? He said, I could. He said, if it was Kylie Minogue. He said, what about you? I said, I could if it was Shania Twain. He said, what about you, Denzil? He said, I could if it was dark. He's a twat. He's a twat. He's a twat. He come up on the horses and he thought he'd have a night in a hotel in London in the penthouse suite right at the top of the hotel. Well, the dirty bastard, he got up top there and he couldn't find the toilet, so he shit out the window on the 14th floor. Shit out the dirty bastard. Well, the manager called him down. He said, you're a dirty bastard. You've shit out of the window on the 14th floor. He said, I never. He said, look. There's shit on the 14th windowsill, the 13th, the 12th, 11th, none on the 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, or 6th, and then there's shit on the 5th, 4th, 3rd, and on the car, on the pavement. He said, what does that prove to you? He said, you're walling plumb. He got added up for parking his tractor in the street, and he had to go to the court next day, and he stayed all day, 5 hours he waited, and when they come to his turn, the judge said, well, I think we've had enough time, we'll adjourn the court for the day, you'll have to come back tomorrow. Denzil said, you're a hairy-ass, pompous old fart. He said, 6 words, it's going to cost you a lot of money, £20 you're going to have to pay, contempt of court. So Denzil got looking in his pocket. He said, you don't have to pay now. Denzil said, no, I'm just seeing if I can afford 2 words more. But he said, what did you do on the 8th of March this year? He said, bugger all, Your Honour. He said, I beg your pardon. He said, bugger all, Your Honour. So he looked at the clerk of the court. He said, what did that boy say? He said, bugger all, Your Honour. He said something. I seen his lips move. But we've had a very sad event, ladies and gentlemen. In Cornwall, our local traffic warden have died. Isn't that awful? You bastards. And they got in the funeral, and there's all the other traffic wardens there. We got the funeral, and he started banging the top of the coffin. He said, I'm not dead. They said, we can't do anything about it now. We've done the paperwork. But ladies and gentlemen, I said to the boys backstage, can you recommend me a nice hotel in Radstock? And they recommended me a beautiful 27-bedroom, semi-detached slum. Lovely place. And last night they had a standing buffet, most unusual. Well, it had to be really, because it was a Radstock Hemorrhoid Society. When I went in the restaurant, she's digging her asshole in the restaurant. Very, very unhygienic. I said, madam, have you an itchy arsehole? She said, only what's on the menu. One of my daughters, she just got married. She'd been away on honeymoon. Well, she come home yesterday. I said, how did the honeymoon go? She said, he touched me head. I said, what? I said, he split your whiskers? I seen him. I said, the daughter said, you haven't split her whiskers. Not yet. Well, he said, I've never done it. He said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to start. I said, well, look, there's 2 dogs there. They're up to no good. You follow them dogs and you watch what they do, and tonight when you go to bed, you do what they do. She rung me this morning. Dad, she said, he come in the bedroom last night, he sniffed me asshole and pissed up against the bedpost. Then she said he dragged his ass across the carpet. And my bloody wife, that airy ass, fat and miserable looking lion pig-featured asshole cow. She's worse than you. Yeah. She come home from the doctor, Jethro. She said that the doctor, he stripped me off. Christ. And she said, he asked, why have I got one lovely tit this side, and this side he hang away about 2'6", with a nipple hanging on the end. He just hang away. Well, she said, I told him at night Jethro keeps sucking and pulling the long tit. He said, have you thought about sleeping in separate beds? She said, well, we sleep in bunk beds as it is.